Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well today. We're just going to leave it just another minute or so before we get into the presentation. I know a few people, just if it's anything like me, will have a meeting that's slightly overrunning, so we'll give them the time to join. Whilst we are waiting, though, what I'll do is I'll just run through some of the housekeeping for this session. So, as with all of our other Care England webinars, we're joined today with one of our supporter members, Earzz, and I shan't steal their thunder. I shall let them introduce themselves at the start of their presentation. However, this session is being recorded, and that's for colleagues who are unable to attend today's session but would like to learn more from Earzz and Gold Care Homes as well, who are one of the other speakers for this presentation. So this is being recorded. So if you don't want to necessarily be involved within the recording, you can just keep your cameras off. However, we do love to see everyone's faces and everything when we come to the questions and answers section. So that comes to the next part of the housekeeping rules, which is essentially if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please do use the chat function or make a note of them after the main presentation is done. We'll have sections where you can ask either Prad or Sandip any questions, and you can use the chat function and I can ask a question, or I can put my email into the chat if you want to ask anything anonymously. But we also encourage people to use the raise hand function and ask directly as well. We like to have that communication with the audience. So what I'll do is I'll continue to monitor the lobby. However, it looks to have settled slightly. So Prad, if I just hand over to yourself.
All right. Can you hear me, Fraser?
Yep, can
Yep.
hear you.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I'm Prad. I'm the founder of Earzz. It's a business that I started about 3 years ago with a view to enhance the quality of life and accessibility for both deaf and hard of hearing people, and also for elderly people in care. So I'm here with Sandeep to talk a little bit about the journey that we've had together with Gold Care Homes. And over to you, Sandeep, for your introduction.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again for providing the platform to Care England and also the inviting to a session and webinar where as a care provider, we can provide the informations and then share our own experience with the deployment of technology and trial as well. So myself, Sandip Panchal, uh, I'm basically the director for the IT and systems. Um, We operate mainly in the Southeast London, and then we have a portfolio of 44 care homes. We operate mainly in three different areas currently in the residential services, nursing and nursing dementia and residential dementia. But we recently acquired another care home and a care village as well. So we extended our services in domiciliary care and care village side of it, and this is where we are learning. But my journey with the Gold Care Homes, almost 13 years, every day is a new challenge and new learning, and then implementing new technology to understand how we can utilize the technology for the benefit of residents we care, and also optimization of operations and financial side of it. Thank you again.
All right. With that, are you able to see my screen, Fraser? Just checking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, you can see my slides, yeah?
yeah.
Excellent. All right. With that, I was thinking for the agenda today, we could start off with a brief introduction to Earzz and what we do here, and then hand over to Sandeep so he can talk a little bit about the project that we've been working on with him and the fantastic team at Gold Care Homes. Just to introduce who we are a business based in London, and we've we focus on two different target audiences, as I mentioned before. One is the deaf and hard of hearing individuals, but also care homes. So these are the two key areas where we focus. What we offer is this little pod over here. It's a system that we think is quite unique and differentiated in the market. And we focus purely on impact. So anything we build, anything we ship out to customers, we want to make sure it adds genuine value. And that has translated into a number of awards for us in recent months, and as you can see in the award board on the right. But more importantly, we also that's also been the foundations for partnerships across both the care sector and even with the Royal Association for Deaf People in the deaf sector. And in terms of our partners, we are proud to partner with Care England, but we also have other association partners that you see over there, the National Care Association, Suffolk Care Association, and we're beginning to now frame a relationship with Norfolk Care Association as well. We've also have we've also participated. We also do a lot of things with our integration partners, PCS being one of them, and CareVision AI as well. As for what the solution does and is, it's a little pod, as you can see. I don't know if you can see my video, but it's a little pod the size of a golf ball. And it's an acoustic monitoring technology that we've invented. But the first thing that comes to your mind when I say an acoustic monitor is a baby monitor. Most of the parents in the audience would definitely relate to what I have to say. I have 2 kids myself. And you usually have a transmitter, you have a receiver. Anytime there's a sound in the baby's room, the transmitter flashes a light, and then you listen on the other end to work out what the sound is and then take action. And this audio relay based technology has sort of trickled quite squarely into the care home sector as well. But this is exactly what we don't do. I just want to declare that outright. What we do here is we've built the intelligence and the smarts in this little pod for the system to automatically recognize and delineate the sounds all by itself. So the system can tell the difference between different sounds. So it could tell when the person's coughing, when the person's shouting, screaming, or even as they bed exit, as they try to get out of bed. And why is that useful? It comes in very valuable in a number of care settings. So in elderly care, as you all know, falls are a big challenge. And this solution is able to identify when the person's trying to get out of bed, even before they put their foot on the floor. And this could send immediate alerts to the carers, notifying them of movement in the room, and that can help prevent falls in a big way. It doesn't relay the audio. It actually understands the sounds of movement and then sends the alert within seconds, and I mean seconds of this event happening. And this makes a big difference and helps reduce falls in elderly care settings, as you will hear from Sandip as well. In dementia care, again, there are many dementia care homes who use our service. And one of the key benefits, as you will hear again from Sandip, is around its ability to identify vocalization trends. So as a person begins shouting or screaming, the system can identify and also alert carers for those events. And why is that useful here? It's extremely valuable because most people with dementia, or even any resident with fluctuating mental capacity, may not be able to push a call button in a nurse call system today. They may not have the mental capacity to do that. And having a system that can identify vocalization trends and also nonverbal sounds in the room could really make a big difference when it comes to care. We've got a few case studies lined up from the pilot that we've run, even with Gold Care. And if Sandeep mentions those things, I can even flag those slides up for you to see the results too. From the nursing side, again, the system can identify coughing trends, and if there's a change in coughing, it can identify those as well, and also vocalization patterns. And one of the biggest benefits, what really truly differentiates us, is besides simply alerting for sounds, the system also uses those sounds to pattern behaviors of people in the room. So, and that's specific to the person. So if Sandeep is one of the residents, it then works out that based on the sounds in Sandeep's room, this is the normal pattern of behavior at night. And if that changes, if there is more vocalization trends or more coughing in the room than what it has heard before, it would then flag an anomaly, a behavioral anomaly, straight to the management team and also triage the alerts based on it, which can make a world of difference when it comes to fall prevention, which is sort of why we see the numbers we see. How does the system work? It's very simple. Its little pod is placed in the residence, installed in the resident's bedroom, as you can see over here. The pod then starts listening specifically for the sounds that you as a manager get to choose. So unlike the other systems, this can be quite person-centered, can be tailored to the person's requirement. So if the person has fluctuating mental ability and you want to detect sounds of vocalization in the room, you could do that. You could simply alert for those. And if the person is of a high fall risk, as an example, you could also begin alerting for the sounds of movement in the room. And any alert would come straight onto the carer's mobile device that they use for care administrative purposes, a PCS device in this specific case with Gold Care. And that would then give you the right information. So let me just zoom in there so you can see how an alert would look like. And what you're seeing here is an alert that comes almost like a WhatsApp message. It's like a push notification that pings, dings, and then hits the carer's mobile device. And let's say you have 3 carers serving 10 rooms in a floor, just hypothetical numbers here. And let's say you want these alerts to go just to the 3 carriers for that floor, you can do that. And once the alert goes, it tells which room the alert is coming from, as you can see here, room 5, and it also says what the sound is. So the carrier is not listening on the other end to work out if an action needs to be taken. Here, it just tells the carrier, this is what's happening in the room. Will you be attending? So let's say of the 3 carriers, a couple of them are busy with other residents, one of them is able to attend. All they need to do is simply tap yes in the alert, in the push notification directly. That then sends an alert to the other 2 carriers saying carrier 1 will now be attending to room 5. And once they are in the room, they would simply have to push this little button. Again, if you can look at the video, my video, you can see the device here and you can see the button on top. And pushing that button digitizes their room check. So I'm sure today you use QR codes, but this makes it an even more convenient way of ensuring that the carrier is in the room and physically registering their attendance. This attendance record is also fed straight into PCS in this case. So you have a full quantifiable log of when the alert was sent, um, when the attendants were registered in the room, how quickly, which rooms are being attended to faster, which rooms are slower. You get full visibility to that directly from our ecosystem, but you can also look at the logs in PCS if you so wish. What does that mean? That translates into tangible impact. And this is our usual, this is what we've achieved in multiple deployments. But again, with Gold Care, it's been even more of an achievement. And I'm sure, Sandip, hopefully you can mention some of the impact figures that we've landed in the pilot that we've run together as well. And typically this translates into an 80% reduction in falls, which is sort of what we've seen. We've got quite a few case studies to prove that as well. And besides the fall reduction, there's also a quantification and the ability to quantify the responsiveness in the room. So because we are sending the alert, we are also capturing when the carrier goes in and attends to the alert. You have a verifiable trace of how quickly or how slowly some of the rooms are being attended to. And if you now compare the averages and then compare that with a typical 2-hour check, you can see that the response numbers could be significantly faster and evidenced and quantified. And this is one of the key benefits here. And you could, I'm not talking a small percentage increase in responsiveness. It's a quantifiable improvement, which can be as high as 15 to 25x, which is quite substantial. And that sort of goes hand in hand with the fall prevention numbers as well. And one of the key benefits, I think, which is vastly understated, is sleep. And when the person sleeps better, the chances of them falling the next day also drop. And we've seen that time and time again. And so one of the key performance indices that we run as a company in Earzz is to see if there is a tangible improvement in the quiet time, which also translates into sleep in the room. So, and this comes as a benefit in multiple ways. But if they are sleeping better, then the chances of falls also reduces, and that it's almost like a cycle of events here. And we want to make sure that is a tangible benefit that's delivered as well in our deployments. And as I was saying before, behavioral patterning, something truly unique to what we do. And that has not just translated into a reduction in falls, it's also helped uncover spread of infections. It's helped uncover other things as well. And I'm sure, I'm hoping Sandip can talk a little more about those as well. And we've got some real tangible evidences from the pilot that we ran at Gold Care. So with that said, I shall hand over to Sandip, who should be the star of the show here. So Sandip, over to you.
Thank you again, putting me on a spot. But again, I think it's thanking everyone. Personally, I would say, look, the journey started with these Earzz. It's with a single email. Our finance director received from the local authority saying, okay, well, yeah, funding is available for fall prevention technology. And then I've been tasked saying, okay, well, yeah, go and find out what's out there in the market, how we can utilize it, and how we can utilize the funding available from the local authority and government to improve our quality and then implement this technology within our group as well. So the task is basically given. We explore the multiples, the service of our fall detection and fall prevention sensor-based technology providers as well. And then quickly within a week, we found out there is only about 3 or 4 people qualified for this kind of funding thing. And again, they are fragmented as well, depending on the council, depending on the area of England and then UK. Only the certain qualified sensor-based technology providers are qualified for the funding. That means you have to have only that technology in that your room or home. Okay, if you are a national provider with a presence in the multiple region, then you might end up having a 3-4 different technology within your group as well. So suddenly the focus change, rather than focusing purely on a funding side of it and then making a decision based on just only the few selective care homes. What we have decided, okay, well, why, if we are investing our time, energy, and money as well, why can't we focus on quality governance and an improvement in well-being of our residents as well? At the same time, let's focus how this is a technology. As you already know that we are in a care industry, the funding is restricted by the government as well, and then the pool of the where we are operating, and I believe, I think the majority of the care service providers are also operating in the similar region as well. We operate in hybrid, so the private pool and then also the local authority. When it comes to the majority of the portion is a local authority where the funding is restricted, how are we going to implement such expensive technology within our group that requires a huge amount of funding, infrastructure change, and also the training and also the creating buying from end users like a carers and the home manager in individual cares. So the journey started, okay, well, look, I think let's go out. We've seen 12 different service providers across the board. We also seen quite few suppliers from the abroad as well, but we focused, okay, well, look, we want to provide the service which basically not leverage as a technology itself, but also it's a future proofing by using it AI as well. So having a conversations, we found out there is only the 3 different kind of technology available in this fall preventions. One is a purely sensor-based technology. Second is a video or camera-based technology, and third is a wearable technology. All these technology got their advantages and disadvantages. Majority of the care service provider operating in a fall prevention side of it operates in sensor-based technology. Some operates in a video-based technology, and some combine both sensor and video. And then third is always a prevalent. It's a wearable technology, but wearable technology got the major disadvantage, particularly where we are operating as a group. It's a quite restrictive. Okay, and it's uncomfortable for the elderly residents. So we decided, well, let's not focus on the wearable technology. Let's just focus purely on sensor-based technology and the camera-based technology as well. What we come across as we started exploring it, camera-based technology, either they are not anonymized sometimes, and sometimes they are anonymized, but the requirement for infrastructure is quite high. So retrofitting into our existing care home, it's a huge cost upfront. Plus, on top of it, there is a cost associated with buying the hardware, ongoing subscription of the services, and various other things as well. So while process of selecting the technology partner, that there was a clear KPI has been defined. Okay, well, the technology should be easy to retrofit, easy to learn for the carers, and easy to understand. Doesn't require huge amount of time to identify the trend. That was one of it as well. Making sure, okay, well, while we are investing it is a future proofed as well. So based on this, the criteria, we started approaching multiple, the fall detection providers as well. While we were working on it, we also done our background checks as well on the care compliance, and then looking at our existing homes. So out of 45 care homes, we've shortlisted, okay, well, 3 care homes based on their past experience. Okay, well, the number of falls they are having it, and which room they are having that falls as well. And based on that, we decided, okay, well, let's go into these 3 care homes, Lucton House, Manor House, and Brackenbridge. We implemented 40 different sensors across these 3 homes. 30 different residents have been basically monitored using this technology. The technologies are quite easy and simple enough. As Prad mentioned about it, it's just a small golf ball size of the equipment sitting very close to the resident's bed. It just required the USB 3-pin creep in power sockets anyway. And as long as you have a full Wi-Fi coverage, the systems works perfectly fine. If the Wi-Fi drops out as well, then system will also notify it through the dashboards and then so the push notification too. So this is a quite helpful where certain homes don't have a full Wi-Fi coverage and there are black spots where Wi-Fi coverage you are struggling. But this is what we have noticed it. Okay, well, considering it doesn't require any kind of major infrastructure change, easy to install, easy to learn as well, because it's a simple push notification comes out, doesn't require any kind of the additional hardware purchase. We can utilize existing PCS care plan management software phone. Just install additional app and it will act as a push notification. So it's overlap on your existing applications. So you, rather than we noticed it, there are a few other service providers as well. You have to always log on onto that app and then see if the app is running. If the app is not running, you won't get the notification. That's not the case with the Earzz as well. So that was additional advantage as well while we were doing this, the pilot. Again, the selection process, we considered about the 3 months data. We clearly define it. Okay, well, these are our KPI. If we consider that, okay, well, we achieve this a KPI, then and only then we will consider the project is successful, and we consider to roll it out across multiple homes as well as a part of our commitment to technology as well. So considering Lucton Manor House and Brackenbridge, all 3 homes are residential home, but residential with the dementia. As you already operating in a care home environment and then care service provider, you already know that traditional technology like a nurse call system, there is a push button in every room, communal lounges and various areas are located there. But residents need cognitive ability to press the button when they require assistance, and carer needs to go and then reset the system to measure the time difference between call response and then call attendance response. Okay, and this is a standard metrics within the CQC and the local authority PALMS audit as well. Provide me your response time because it basically covers the 3 CLOE. Are you safe? Are you responsive to the needs? And are you providing the training which can create the leaderships as well? So these 3 CLOEs we wanted to target as well, considering what we have achieved with definitely a support of PRADS and PRADS teams as well. Throughout this rollout, the team has been amazing. They've been on the site. They provided regular training, weekly calls with care home managers as well, hand holding the data, providing and then interpreting the data captured by the sensors as well. So midway to the the trial period, we said, okay, well, look, I think it's amazing that you are hand holding this data, you are regularly doing it, but okay, well, how about you stop interacting with our home managers, deputy clinical leads and carers, let them explore the system by themselves, let them interpret the data by themselves to understand, is your system user friendly enough? Is it easy to use by the carer? You might come across there are care in their 60s and 70s, they are not quite tech savvy. Are they able to pick up these systems and utilize the system to improve the quality, improve the governance, and then create the standardized system rollout across the groups as well? And we were positively surprised within a week that, okay, well, clinical lead, deputy manager, home manager started reading the data based on their hand-holding experience, weekly calls as well, and they started spotting the trends. They started spotting the trends, which way more than fault detection technology. And I think this was one of the area as well. Okay, well, our finance director said, well, what I'm gonna get more out of it apart from this fall. Okay, so with the Earzz, you're gonna get a lot more out of it apart from the falls, which is basically the behavioral pattern, trending, and also what we are able to identify it with the help of the clinical lead. Well, it can detect we were able to detect the UTI infection, sepsis, and also the chest infection spreads as well. I think I will let Prad explain on those 3 sides of it, but this is basically the area where we have identified it, saying, okay, well, look, system is user friendly. It can be easily deployed. It doesn't require any additional infrastructures. It doesn't require any additional hardware or commitment either. And then cost wise, compared to any another service provider we explored during our think, it's much much more cost effective as well. So although funding is not available from local authority, as an organization, we would be able to fund this one and improve our quality. The ROI side of it as well, again, is like, well, every organization focus on ROI, and every organization have their own way of processes and policies. Not necessarily our ROI will reflect your ROI. Every services and every care providers are different. But based on our own experience, what we have noticed, it's massive and significant improvement where we have implemented this sensors. So as I mentioned about it, 30 rooms with the 40 sensors. Where we installed these 40 sensors, 100% fall reductions. We noticed it. I mean, what you are seeing is currently on a slide is a Lucton House, a 6 pre-Earzz deployment. There was a 6 fall, Manor House 8, and then Brackenbridge 15. Okay, Lucton Manor 0 fall, 100% reductions. Brackenbridge, we got the 2 fall, but they were in a lounge where we never installed these sensors. But what we are seeing is basically wherever we got these sensors, people were able to respond it much quicker. And during a 10 at 10 meetings, or the regular weekly and daily communications your managers are having with your head of department and carer as well, they were regularly communicating, stating, okay, well, these are the 5 people at high risks. If we are seeing any kind of trigger, respond it much quicker. We've seen the massive improvement in a response time as well. It used to be up to 6 minutes. It's gone down less than 2 or 3 minutes as well. And hence we were able to detect and prevent fall at much earlier stage as well. As soon as trigger comes, someone will go there, quickly find out. So majority of, as you already know, that okay, majority of falls happening within the care rooms is because of the 3 different reasons. It's a lack of light. Second is a placement of furniture, maybe not in right place, placement of furniture in lounges, and then maybe you are holding the event, which also create the sleep hazard. And third is a side effect of the medications. So in dementia, to calm people down, behavioral challenges related things, GP prescribes any kind of sedative, or maybe the anti-hypertension medications as well. Side effect of this is basically they have a dizziness, they have an urge to go to toilet, and if you don't attend those calls, they tend to get up by themselves. They don't have enough strength to stay on their own feet, and then they have a fall. Touch wood, we never had the experience during this trial period that okay, well, anyone had that kind of fall. So by having this kind of triggered at early stage and then staff responding, reduce the fall massively. What we have also noticed it where we got these 2 sensors been installed as well. We noticed it when it comes to the evidencing, the system create the factual information rather than unwitnessed falls being recorded with multiple investigations, having a conversation with the various staff and senior carers and getting their opinion. Here you are getting the purely sensor based data. You can provide that data as evidence either to CQC or PALMs, and based on that you can basically close this case, or you can take an actions to prevent you. So lesson learned kind of things as well. It also provide the dashboards as well. So okay, yeah, Prad, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, Sandip. I was just thinking here. You mentioned the falls side, but you did hint on the proactive care element as well. So I was thinking it would benefit if we can talk a little more about the sepsis case here for the audience. So you could perhaps run through the scenario. I do have one slide that I did rep in backup, as you can see, in case you do go into it. I can share from the pilot results and the pilot showcase that we had. So I can pull that up and maybe give a bit of a brief, but jumping in and sharing your experience of it would also be quite useful. And just for the audience's benefit here, this was one of the residents at Lucton House. It was a very interesting case study, which I think again, the focus of the conversation today is to move care from reactive to proactive, and you've heard what the impact there is has been from a false perspective. But I thought this would be quite relevant and pertinent as well to our conversations. To give you some background here, so this person has dementia, and um, they usually call out for attention. They don't press the call button, and so what you're seeing here is for those who are not acquainted with our systems, what you're seeing here is episodes of actual events that transpired every night. So this is between 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. and on a nightly basis. So you're seeing night on night what has happened, and each color here represents an episode of certain type of sound. So a light blue here is coughing, green is when the person was beginning to move in the room, and dark blue here represents shouting. And you can see a consistent trend of dark blue here. So you can see the person vocalizes consistently. And so the initial expectation was that you would see a large number of vocalization episodes in the room. But what was very interesting is because the system is recognizing those episodes and keeping a log of how many such episodes were being seen on a nightly basis, uh, the system began picking up certain trends. So you could see here that you have an average, a norm, and then you have a sudden surge of that vocalization, of the number of vocalization episodes that transpired in the room that evening. And this was the first insight into what was normal and what was abnormal, right? So, and the system doesn't just alert for these episodes and log it, but it actually then runs analytics on this trend that you're seeing, and it picked up this sudden surge in shouting that you're seeing here in the room. And it automates this process of understanding what is an anomaly and then provides that insight to the management team almost instantly. So the very next morning, the managers got the information who were super proactive. And the moment they got it, we had a call that day as well. And so they were just understanding the data at that point, and they could see the sudden surge, and they were a bit concerned that something had happened, but it subsided the very next day, and then it carried on. But again, it started surging. So that's when they took action, and they then said, okay, this seems a bit abnormal. So the number of vocalization episodes seem to be growing quite rapidly, so we need to get the clinical team in. So they then brought the clinical team in, and interestingly, the doctor came and diagnosed just to uncover the first onset of sepsis for this person. So this is the reason why I thought this was important. Is we are not talking about falls here. We're talking about behavioral patterning and anomaly detection using the sounds as a way of understanding and uncovering trends that you would never uncover otherwise, right? So that's a key point here. If not for this, this was again feedback that Sandip and Lucton House gave us. It's if I don't, you don't have a person sitting counting the number of times a person shouting. So it's having a system like this gives you that visible insight, which is very hard to get otherwise, because once the door is shut, it's very hard to uncover what happens here. Do you want to add something to this,
Sure. Yeah,
Sandeep?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just want to add as well. So during our selection process, we found out there are so many sensor-based technology available. They tend to operate only in the nighttime when it is a quieter, while ears operate all 24 hours, have a ability to detect and understand multiple voices as well. While we were doing this trial, we provided a lot more feedback back to Earzz teams as well, with again high commitment from the Earzz teams. They implemented the changes much quicker. So if you detect a certain sounds, if you provide the sampling of the sounds, they can create the episode of the sound as well, and then you can purely detect that kind of sounds within that as well. So not only that, but I think it's, as you already know, okay, um, way more than the fall detections, we are able to detect the behavioral pattern. We are able to detect the sepsis, chest infections, coughing, behavioral movement side of it as well. Okay, well, is the movement happening only in the nighttime, or is it movement happening on during the daytime? More people are having a good night's sleep. What we have noticed it that they are having a less fall, because having good night's sleep, they are less agitated during the daytime, and their overall health is improved as well. They don't need the calming down medication, so reductions in medication administration is also improved as well. Overall, if you look at it, the ROI putting the just money aside or maybe the financial side aside, as a care, we are a care provider. We truly improving the quality of life of our carer and also the residents by providing this insight into the technology, reduction in number of the medication they have to take, having a better night's sleep, and also the reducing the falls. That means they can be more mobile rather than having hospitalizations. And during the hospitalization, you may lose your revenue. You may keep the room empty, and after hospitalization, if the residents not plan to come back, that means you lost the revenue that as well. That is the financial side of it. But by not having it, you are protecting your occupancy, you're protecting your revenue, you're improving the health and safety of your residents as well, and also you're getting the intelligence which you can help and utilize it to put the case forward if the person's dependency change. And this is what we have utilized it multiple times within this trial period as well, where we put forward saying, okay, well, look, we would like to trigger assessments. Can you please come and then do assess this particular person's what we have assessed previously needs is a completely change. Although we write it down and then manually it's been intervened by carer. This is a more factual side of it with the 24-hour trend based on the census rather than someone's relative judgment. I hope it makes sense. So
Yes.
back to you, Prad.
Thank you, Sandip. So just on picking up your point on the pre-assessment process. So this was an interesting case. We talked about the sepsis case. So this is the same person here, and you can see the surge in shouting, and then the diagnosis of sepsis, and then the person was admitted to the hospital. And when they came back, the first few nights for this person seemed to be fairly okay, but then there was a surge again in the episodes of shouting, and the manager was the first one to act. And this time we had not intervened. They knew what to do, and they acted upon it very quickly. The doctor came in again just to diagnose UTI this time for this person. And when you think about the assessment process, obviously what you're now seeing is a trail of events that had transpired in the room, and based on that trail, these orange dots that you see are the number of times the carers had gone into the room to respond to the person. And you can see when this episodes of shouting surged, the number of checks also surged. And as it dropped, this also dropped. And so it gives you a feeling of not just a trail of the needs of the person changing, so how the needs are evolving, but also the number of checks the carers have done in response to those changing needs. And this gives you, and going back to Sandeep's point on a trail for dependency, this gives you some hard evidence besides just the carer notes, as Sandeep mentioned. It also shows you what actually transpired in the room, and if the situation is now changing. And if you now imagine, this is just one case study, and we've got others where you could see how the needs evolve on a week on week or month on month basis, and when that changes quite drastically, and when you see the number of checks have now increased rapidly for this person on a consistent basis, it becomes a very nice trail to use as hard evidence to say that, look, this person's needs have now truly evolved, and the number of checks have also now evolved quite rapidly. And that also means you have a certain number of carers, and the carers are now going into this room a lot more than, which also means they're not going into the other rooms as much. So it gives you a very clear trail of that as well, which I think is an
Additional
important
staff
point.
requirement, deployment of the staff, distribution of the staffs, and various other things. But again, let me just be very honest. You can put the case forward to local authority. Not necessary you're going to get the 100% trigger in terms of assessment side of it or the funding. But this is the hard evidence, which basically allows you to justify. I hope it makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. And also wanted to go back to the point that Sandeep was making around coughing. And this is again a very nice, we talked about, the other sounds here, which for fall prevention. We also talked about the sepsis case, which was more to do with vocalization, shouting and screaming type episodes. But the system can also identify coughing trends. And I just want to play a little video here, which sort of gives you a feel for what happened here. So you can see in one of the care homes we were serving, this time we're not looking at each we're not looking at any of the other sounds. We're looking at coughing episodes, and you can see the number of coughing episodes for the resident here in flat 3, and you can see night on night. This is nighttime data, but just between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And you can see here that the person was coughing a lot more during certain days, and that dwindled. And you could see within a week or two that sort of dropped back down to normal levels. And if I now start playing this, you can see around the same time, flat 24 also had coughing. And then as that dropped out, flat 8 ended up getting it. And then as flat 8 dropped out, flat 20 got it. This is not any sound. It's not a human being interpreting, is the system understanding that this sounds like cough and then registers that and then sort of calculates what's happening and then trends it out. And you can now see here that there is a potential spread, and this was something that the management team immediately acted upon, and they could get this trend almost quickly. And the manager there was it's Manor House, and they were fantastic, and they sort of caught upon this trend and took immediate action here as well. Now, any additional comments here from you, Sandeep, on what happened at Manor?
No, exactly. So this is the clear example of well, the early detections of chest infections, coughing spread, COVID spread, any kind of things you can basically identify it before it covers multiple units of your care home, and then you can administrate and take the corrective actions. Um, but again, one of the area after this case as well, okay, well, look, uh, our conversation was well, proud. I think his data is amazing. Okay, everything is a good, but our manager don't have a time to look into it, each and everything on a daily basis. Is there any way you can improve your dashboard where system can analyze and then transport and quickly provide uh, on a daily basis just only the few benchmarked data based on their past pattern? So it will baseline your data, and then anything abnormally, those are the 5 people I need to focus. So those 5 people I will go on a regular basis and then analyze the trend. So by doing so, we are not creating additional system to our home manager. Okay, well, you already got the care plan management system. You got another system for your EMR. You got another systems. Now, what we are trying to say, okay, well, the system's there to aid to make your decision right. With your data information is available, you can either justify the additional cost of staffing, additional cost of your care as well, to both your local management team, regional management team, and a local authority as well. And at the same time, it will put you in a spot in better governance, better quality, and better leadership in terms of the technology implementation.
Great.
Yeah,
And
back to you, Brad.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Sandeep. So with that said, I'm keen to have some time here for questions as well, and keen to hear from the audience. But just to wrap things up on our end, a summary of what we've covered here. As far as the solution goes, it is a passive listening device in essence. So this pod is listening, but not just relaying audio. It is trying to understand what it's listening and then capture that as episodes of certain events that may be relevant for care in this specific case. And it also sends alerts for things like shouting, vocalization sounds, coughing, restlessness, movement. And it also then uses the pattern, the sounds which it's detecting, to then calculate what's happening from a behavioral perspective, and any deviations thereof are also subject to alerts. So that's something that it sends not to the carers at this point, but to the management teams and the clinical leads. So you can also bifurcate the alerts to who they go. And that's something that the system can do for you. And that's part of our setup process as well. And behavioral anomalies, I think, are key here. And what we've seen is this strong correlation between fall risks and nighttime restlessness. And so we wanted to make sure that this is information that is going into your care planning systems as well, which is why the integration with PCS was very important. Care vision was very important. So we ended up doing that as well. So these behavioral anomaly nodes go straight into this EMS solution as well. And this is unlike any of the other providers there, which is quite unique to what we're doing here. And there's also always a learning loop, just like with Gold Care. They had specific requests, and these requests make our product better, in the end, we are all serving the resident, and that's what we want to do as well, and do it properly. So we've always iterated on what we learn, and that's part of the ethos of how we work as well. With that said, I'm going to open it up for Q&A here. Is that okay, Fraser?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had a question come through via email, but we've also had a question from Karen within the chat. So just wondering if both of you would like to come back to it. So she's asked that if staff are using the system and doing less night checks, have you been able to reduce any staffing on nights?
So I can give a quantified answer, and I'll let Sandeep then talk more about what that number translated to for him. In this, so hi Karen, by the way. With with regards to the hi Karen, nice to speak again.
Yeah, you too.
In terms of the number of falls here, Karen. So as you can see from the right, the total count of falls was 29 before across these homes, and which dropped to 2. As Sandeep pointed out, these were also not in rooms from what I gather. So it's a 27. It's a count of 27 when you talk about 27 fewer falls, right? So, and as you know, and something we had discussed before, each fall here takes in a lot of admin time from the staff here from safeguarding to then documenting to understanding what can be done better. And typical average here, as we discussed, was around 20 hours per fall. And that's a huge number of hours given back, right? So in this specific case, 27 fewer falls would directly translate into a huge time saving for you. And this was then reallocated for higher quality care in places where there was a need change as well. But in terms of the number of hours given back from a check perspective, this is a good example that I had put up. So this is a specific residence case. This is a data from a specific night, and you can see here that um, because the system was alerting for specific sound events, in this case there is shouting episodes, and the carer responds very quickly. There are time periods here when the nights get a lot quieter, and that's in fact one of our measures, one of our KPIs here. And you can see the number of checks. There were some gaps here, and the gaps could be extended. In some cases you can, but if it comes purely down to the resident's need is what I understand here. So you could have cases where you could possibly stretch it out slightly and you end up getting a gain in terms of reduction in the number of checks needed. But again, it completely depends on the resident's perspective. With that said, I'll hand over to Sandeep here.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's possibly the direct answer of the Karen would be, the reduction of the staff is never been our intentions and was never been our focus either. What we wanted to do is basically in a night time, reduce staff ratio is always in operation anyway. What we wanted to do is optimize that thing rather than night staff constantly on their leg running around and then doing 2 hourly checks and then various other things associated with it. How we can utilize the technology to make their time more efficient and optimize the work they do. Okay, not necessarily, and then again, it possibly, it depending on the care service provider, what your focus is. Our focus was never been reduction in staff. So we never measured on it. What we have measured on it is how we can improve efficiency, how we can optimize our staffing as well. And this is what we got the feedback back from our night staff and day staff as well, saying, okay, well, the system is definitely helping and it is improving the quality. What we have seen it is a 2 hourly checks as a physical notes where we can see, okay, yeah, the physical checks being done, which basically the CQC and local authority would like to see. Okay, well, how often you are checking, but you don't want to go and check the the resident's room by just checking it. You don't want to wake them up. I hope it makes sense. So if we see, okay, well, if there is no noise, maybe it's no point visiting that, but maybe utilize your other areas of it, maybe the care plan review or various other things. So reduction of the staff was never intention, and I don't think so it's intention now as well.
I see Karen's acknowledged. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
You had one more question, Fraser.
Yeah, sorry, I realised my mic was on mute there. Apologies. One question, and that was for Sandip, and that was how quickly did you see the benefits of implementing this tool when you first brought it into your services?
Sure. So basically, the implementation of system, considering the 10 sensor we deployed within a home, it was a day job. Okay, just a single day, all 10 sensors gone in. sensors tend to take 24 hours, 48 hours to understand the behavioral patterns and various other things. Based on that, it creates the baseline for that residence. So profiling of the residence. And then anything after, it's a start creating abnormally. Okay. So during that period, as long as you create a more buy-in from your local carers, local managers, and also your higher management team, you would be able to take the reward of the system implementation, learning from the system, as we already mentioned about it. Okay, well, after a few weeks, we decided, okay, well, rather than we handhold and then try to tell them, okay, well, this is how you're going to interpret the data. We wanted them to interpret the data by themselves and then come up how they can resolve that interpretation of the data. And so in terms of it, if you consider the timeline, possibly maximum a week.
Thank you for that. That's really, really
Thank you.
helpful. And I think, yeah, explains it very nicely. Had another question from Richard in the chat, and he mentioned that he did have to join slightly later, but just wanted to have a quick recap or go into a bit further detail on what hardware is needed. And you kind of touched on it there with your answer there, Sandip, of how quickly and easily it can be installed. But don't know, Brad, if you want to come in and talk to this point.
Sure. We did mention this at the start, but happy to go through this again, Richard. In terms of what's needed, it's this little pod. It's the monitor. It's the size of a golf ball, as you can see, and that's the easiest analogy to sort of relate to the size here. It's a pod that we install in the resident's bedroom. It's usually kept besides the resident's bed, as you can see, and it passively listens for sounds in the room. We go through as part of the installation. We also work with the management team to make sure we understand what the needs are per resident. So the system is literally connected to a 3-pin plug point as well. So it's got a USB-C, just in case I hadn't covered that. So you've got this. So it's almost like a phone. It just connects on. And it is already pre-configured for your Wi-Fi requirements as well. And any alerts are sent straight to your PCS handset, your CMS handset in essence. So whatever you use for um, care administration purposes already. And the dashboard is a web page in essence. So you could log in through your secure credentials anywhere from anywhere. So you as a manager, you could be at home, you could be anywhere, and then you could look at the data remotely and this becomes quite useful, especially for larger organizations too, because as an example, Sandeep wanted to look at data from all 3 homes, and we could make that available for him anytime. And he could sit in his office in Uxbridge and then look at the data from Birmingham. So he could see down to the minute as to what happened in that room that night. That makes it really convenient. So in terms of the overall process, this is the only install that's needed. It connects straight to your Wi-Fi, and then we would install the apps onto your existing PCs, handsets, or CareVision handsets.
I have a question, maybe the audience as a general. Do you think this particular technology can replace traditional nurse call system? Because what nurse call system is doing, or it's not doing currently, because it do require a cognitive ability to press the button, while these sensors are able to do. It's a question of basically convincing the compliance side of it, CQC and local authority, having these systems may be not necessary to have the nurse call system because it can combine the data together. Okay, this is just a wider questions, maybe not need to answer everyone, but I think it's just a food for thought, saying, okay, well, if someone is planning to build a new care home, rather than going on a traditional nurse call system, maybe it's worth investigating and investing this kind of sensor in every room and communal area, hopefully.
I think that's a really good question, and I think something definitely the audience can think about, something I will think about as well. And when it comes to that point with talking about the regulators, talking about the commissioners, etc., it's a case of their roles is to guarantee safety, but also support and help innovation thrive. So it's a case of, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. However, there are these technologies in place that can help us advance and excel what we are doing currently and make sure that the care being provided is of better, higher quality. So
Yeah.
I
The
don't know if
idea of
any.
having a nurse call system is measuring the response time, isn't it? And this particular sensor can also provide you the response time by tapping. So this is why the questions came in my mind as well. But again, look, I think it's a question for the wider or audience to think. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we have got 6 more minutes left. So what I'll do is I'll just look to the audience now to see if there's any further questions that they'd like to ask the presenters. During this time, I will just like to take this opportunity to thank you both for today. It's been an incredibly insightful PowerPoint presentation, and just hearing the stories as well of the success measures and your experience of implementing the service as well has just been really, really insightful. And I think a lot of providers on the call will take learnings away from this as well and see the benefits. So I just want to thank you from Care England's perspective and on behalf of the audience as well. But does anyone want to come in and say anything or ask any questions at all? If not, we can look to draw the session to a close. So thank you everyone for attending today's call. We will be sharing the copy of the slides as well as a recording of today's session over email. There may be a few days delay just because with the care show in place, our team is away at that event. However, we'll get them to you as soon as possible. And we'll follow up with further events that we're hosting later on down the line. But thank you all for today, and we'll share the contact details of the speakers if you want to follow up or have any more questions or anything you want to discuss with them. Thank you all.
Thank you again
Thank you so much
for your platform as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, Sandip, for sharing the results as well. And thanks, Fraser, for having us.
Yeah.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.